Sometimes reality is stranger than any fiction you could dream up. Today, I'm sharing real stories that sound completely made up, but every single one is documented and true. Let's dive in. The man who chugged a liter of vodka at airport security. In 2007, a man at airport security in Nuremberg, Germany, had a full liter of vodka in his bag. Security told him he couldn't bring it through. It exceeded the liquid limit. Most people would just throw it away. Not this guy. He opened the bottle and chugged the entire thing right there at the checkpoint. We're talking a full liter of straight vodka, more than 33 shots consumed in just minutes. He collapsed immediately. His body went into severe alcohol poisoning as his blood alcohol level skyrocketed. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital, where doctors fought to save his life. He survived, but barely, all because he refused to throw away a $20 bottle of vodka. The dancing dentist disaster. In October 2004, Brandy Fanning walked into a dental office in Syracuse, New York for an emergency tooth extraction. The dentist, Dr. George Trusty, started the procedure normally. Then, Car Wash came on the radio and he started dancing along to the music while actively drilling into Brandy's mouth. The drill bit suddenly snapped. It broke off inside her mouth and lodged deep in her sinus cavity near her eye. She spent 3 days in the hospital and needed emergency surgery. The accident caused permanent nerve damage and chronic infections that plagued her for years. She sued, and honestly, can you blame her? Your dentist is supposed to stay focused, not bust out dance moves to disco classics. The couple who forgot their kids existed. In 2007, police in Nevada responded to a welfare check that revealed a disturbing case of neglect. A couple had become so addicted to online video games that they played for days without stopping, completely forgetting they had children to care for. Their 11-month-old daughter's hair was so matted it had to be completely shaved off. Their 22-month-old son could barely walk because his muscles never developed properly. Both children were severely malnourished. The parents were literally in the next room the entire time, just absorbed in their virtual worlds while their real children starved feet away. Both were arrested for child neglect. The politician who couldn't hold it. In 2008, music fans gathered at a Washington, D.C. nightclub to watch a Grateful Dead cover band. The venue had a balcony overlooking the main floor where the crowd was packed in enjoying the show. Then something wet started falling from above. At first, people thought it was a spilled drink, but it kept coming. Stephen Lipsky, a city councilman from Jersey City, New Jersey, was on the balcony completely drunk, and he was urinating over the railing onto the crowd below, just openly relieving himself on unsuspecting concert-goers. He was arrested immediately. Here was a sitting elected official urinating on strangers at a concert. That's how Stephen Lipsky's political career ended, literally pissing on people from a balcony. Revenge at the prom. In 2008, New Jersey teenager Shanta Dargbe was devastated when her boyfriend broke up with her and asked someone else to prom. For most teenagers, this means crying and eating ice cream. For Shanta, her anger took a darker turn. She went to his house and set it on fire. The flames consumed everything inside. By the time firefighters controlled the blaze, the entire house had burned to the ground. Years of family memories destroyed in one act of rage. Shanta was arrested and faced serious arson charges, all because her ex-boyfriend took someone else to prom. One moment of anger destroyed both the family's home and her own future. The woman who married a dolphin. In 2006, 41-year-old British woman Sharon Tendler traveled to Eilat, Israel to hold a wedding ceremony on the beach. She wore white, had flowers and witnesses present. The groom was a male bottlenose dolphin named Cindy. Sharon explained she'd met Cindy 15 years earlier, and it was love at first sight. Over the years, she visited regularly, and her feelings only grew stronger. The ceremony wasn't legally binding, but Sharon was completely serious about her commitment to Cindy and considered the dolphin her soulmate. The pizza man who wouldn't quit. In 2005, Thomas Stefanelli was delivering pizzas in Tampa, Florida. When someone tried to rob him, the assailant shot him in the leg and fled. Thomas stood there bleeding from a gunshot wound. Most people would immediately call 911 and wait for an ambulance. Not Thomas. He looked at his delivery bag and saw he still had 4 pizzas left. So despite the bullet hole in his leg, he got back in his car and finished his entire route. He delivered all 4 remaining pizzas, probably limping to each door. Only after completing every delivery did he finally call for medical help. That's either incredible work dedication or terrible judgment. Maybe both. The Facebook organ market. In 2023, a Pennsylvania man was browsing Facebook Marketplace looking for something most people would never search for: human body parts, real ones. He found a seller. A woman in Arkansas was advertising actual human organs and remains stolen from a medical facility by an employee. The man bought them through Facebook Messenger and payment apps, just like buying a used couch. Packages containing human remains were shipped across state lines. Both were eventually arrested. The case revealed that a black market for human body parts was operating openly on social media platforms where millions shop every day. The leg in the barbecue grill. Shannon Wisnant won a used barbecue grill at auction in North Carolina. When he opened it to inspect his purchase, he found a mummified human leg inside. The leg belonged to John Wood, who'd lost it in a plane crash and kept it as a memento. He'd been storing it in the grill, but when he fell behind on storage payments, everything got repossessed and auctioned off. Shannon wanted to keep the leg as a roadside attraction. John wanted his leg back. They ended up in court arguing over who legally owned a severed human leg. John eventually won, but the absurdity made national headlines. The woman who died twice. In 2011, 49-year-old Russian woman Fagilyu Mukametsyanov was declared dead by doctors, and her family held a funeral. She was placed in an open coffin as friends and family gathered around mourning. Then, in the middle of the ceremony, Fagilyu's eyes opened. She started screaming in terror, thrashing in the coffin as mourners jumped back in shock. She was alive. The shock of realizing where she was caused her heart to give out right there. She suffered a fatal heart attack in the coffin. 12 minutes later at the hospital, she was pronounced dead again, this time for real. She died twice in one day because of the doctor's mistake. The stolen hornet bomb. In September 2023, Philadelphia beekeeper Don Shump removed a European hornet nest containing 400 hornets and stored them in a shop vacuum in his truck bed overnight. European hornets are much larger and more aggressive than regular wasps, with intensely painful stings. Someone stole the vacuum during the night, probably thinking they were getting a nice power tool. They had no idea what was inside. Don called it a horror movie waiting to happen. 400 massive angry hornet queens just waiting to be released. The vacuum was never recovered. The thief was never found. We can only imagine what happened when they opened it. Mike the Headless Chicken. On September 10, 1945, Colorado farmer Lloyd Olson grabbed a rooster named Mike and swung his axe. Mike's head came off and fell to the ground, but Mike's body stood up and started walking around like nothing happened. Lloyd's axe had missed Mike's jugular vein and left most of his brainstem intact. A blood clot prevented bleeding. Mike just kept living. Lloyd fed him with an eyedropper directly into his exposed esophagus. Mike became a touring sideshow attraction. People paid to see the impossible headless chicken. At his peak, Mike earned $4,500 per month, over $60,000 in today's money. He lived for 18 months without his head before finally dying in March 1947. Mike the Headless Chicken became one of the most famous chickens in history. The teenager who faked his own kidnapping. In 2023, 17-year-old Caden Spite from Florida decided to run away but didn't want people looking for him as a runaway, so he faked his own kidnapping. He bought camping gear, abandoned his truck, and shot himself in the leg to create a realistic injury. He even used ChatGPT to research how to collect blood without causing pain and Mexican drug cartels to make his story believable. His plan worked too well. A statewide Amber Alert went out. Multiple agencies launched a massive search with helicopters, dogs, and dozens of officers. Then investigators found inconsistencies and uncovered the truth. Caden was sentenced to 1 year of house arrest. The search cost hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars, all wasted on his elaborate hoax. The triplets who didn't know they existed. In 1980, 19-year-old Robert Shafran arrived at college in New York for his first day. Strangers kept hugging him and calling him Eddie. Someone explained there was another student who looked exactly like him, Edward Galland. When they met, they discovered they were identical twins separated at birth. The reunion made local news. Then a third young man, David Kellman, saw the story and realized he looked exactly like them too. They were triplets. But then the dark truth emerged. They hadn't been separated by accident. It was a deliberate psychological experiment. Scientists had intentionally split them up to study nature versus nurture, placing them with families of different economic levels: blue-collar, middle-class, and wealthy. The families were never told. The boys were never told. They were human guinea pigs in an unauthorized study. The study records are sealed at Yale University until 2065. The betrayal haunted them. Edward Gallen died by suicide in 1995. What should have been a joyful reunion was tainted by the knowledge that their separation was engineered by scientists who saw them as data points. The man who survived a particle beam through his head. On July 13, 1978, Soviet physicist Anatoly Bugorsky was checking malfunctioning equipment at a particle accelerator facility in Russia. Safety mechanisms failed, and he accidentally placed his head in the beam's path. A 76 giga-electron-volt proton beam traveling near light speed fired through his skull, in through the back of his head, through his brain, out through his nose. He saw a flash brighter than 1,000 suns, but felt no pain. He received over 3,000 grays of radiation instantly, 600 times the lethal dose. Doctors expected him to die within days, but he didn't die. The left side of his face became paralyzed and stopped aging, remaining frozen in time while the right side wrinkled normally. He lost hearing in his left ear and had occasional seizures. But he survived, completed his PhD, and continued working as a physicist for decades. He's still alive today, the only person ever to survive a particle accelerator beam through the brain. Scientists still don't fully understand how. These aren't urban legends. Every single story is documented and real. Reality doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to happen. And sometimes what happens is so bizarre, so unexpected, so absolutely insane that you'd never believe it if it wasn't true. These 15 stories prove the world is stranger than any fiction we could write.